Hello, everyone. Welcome to Chalk Talk here on DK Pittsburgh Sports. This is Chris Halicke. We are going over Steelers versus Patriots, but I really wanted to focus on the run game in this one because there's a lot of talk here about the Steelers' run game not working, not being what it needs to be, and yeah, there's a lot of truth to that. There's no doubt about that whatsoever. The Steelers need to get better at running the ball, but we did see signs of life in it in this game. 53 rushing yards in the first quarter. They were averaging nearly 5 yards a carry. They were doing phenomenal. And they didn't do almost anything. I mean, in the second and third quarter, I think they had like -9 or -7 rushing yards over the second and third quarter. It's just like that's so bad. I mean, that's not just. I mean, there are no words to describe that. But I remembered one thing that Troy Fautanu said last week, and he said, I feel like a lot of the time we're one block away. We're one block away. And I went into that, and as I'm watching this, I was reminded of that just by what we saw. So let's take a look at some of the things that went right early on. Also, and even on one of those ones, you're going to see something that went wrong, and then we're also going to find out some of the other things that went wrong as well. So this isn't like extensive. We're going to look at 5 runs here from this game, but this gives you a glimpse of maybe there's some truth to what Troy Fautanu said. So here, first run here, Steelers are running, toss to the outside. Broderick Jones is going to come out and pull out here. He's going to try to set up there for the sweep. Pat Freiermuth is going to come up here and block here. Zach Frazier is going to come up to the second level, get this guy. Sayamalo is going to wall off this guy. McCormick's going to wall off this guy. Fautanu is also going to come out here and help wherever needed, whether it's maybe here. And if it's not there, maybe he's going to come over and get this edge. If it's not there, then maybe he was going to get some sort of other defender coming from the weak side. Either way, that's your play. Warren goes out there. He's following Broderick Jones, and I mean, this is phenomenal here. I mean, you're getting. This is good play design. This is execution. We've got 2 guys on this edge here. Freiermuth is blocking his guy well. Zach Frazier's on his guy. Troy Fautanu. I'd like to see Fautanu really peel back and get this edge rusher who's chasing, because if that's the case, Warren is just going to cut back and go that way. And if that's walled off by Fautanu here, this might be going all the way. Instead, Fautanu has his eyes on a guy over here, and so number 2 here is able to chase him down. Number 2 right there is able to chase him down. But even so, Warren is able to get a really good chunk there on the ground. Really great way to start. Great run to get things going. Here we have a run that's all too familiar in the Arthur Smith offense. We're running wide zone to the right, and so here we go. This is wide zone. If you're Jaylen Warren, your primary attack point is the outside hip of the tight end. So that is where you're going, and then you are reading leverage from this over here to over here to over here. Like that is your the way you're reading this. You're reading the leverage. So we got inside leverage here. We've got inside leverage here. So we're not going to go outside of that. That makes no sense. So right here, you're either going to try to cut here, or you're going to try to cut this right up the middle and go here, because you're expecting this to be walled off right there. That's what you want to do with wide zone. You want to have these 2 backside linemen here, get over here and wall this off, get over here, wall this off. That's what you want to see, so that by the time you get to this, Jaylen Warren is going to be able to, if he needs it, going to be able to cut back and hit this lane. And that's exactly what he sees, what he's doing. But this guy right here is unblocked. Broderick Jones didn't get to him. Now, is that a failure on Brod, or is that tripping over? See how his right foot right here kicks right there, so he kind of trips. He can't get out there fast enough, and so this guy goes unblocked. But Jaylen Warren, nice jump cut to the inside. Good wall off here. I mean, interesting way of doing it here if you're Pat Freiermuth. You'd like to see him just cut the legs out from under him, but hey, use your behind. So you get the wall off there. Jaylen Warren makes a guy miss, and he gets up, and he gets a good gain out of that too. So that's a good example, but see, that's what I'm talking about. If Broderick Jones doesn't trip right here, right there, if he doesn't trip right there, and he's able to get to this guy and just pretend this guy's not here, he's over here, and that's being blocked up, and you have a complete wall right here. Who's there to stop him? I mean, who's, realistically, the closest guy that could possibly get him is this safety right here. This is exactly what wide zone is supposed to do. You're supposed to be creating cutback lanes so that the running back can take the most advantageous route in a run. It's not just one option. Imagine what that run could have been if Warren gets that clear path. But even then, Warren is running well enough where he's able to still make that a successful run, despite them missing a block. Now, let's remember that moving forward here. Okay, so here we have Jonnu Smith lined up in the backfield as the fullback. And we're going to move him in motion, and we're going to run wide zone to the right here. Only this time, you're following Jonnu, who's going to be blocking right here in the C gap, right here. That is where Jonnu's going. He's going to go in there, and he's going to try to block whichever defender that is. And the great thing here, and the thing is that this is pretty much where Jonnu's wanting to go. Now, you can already kind of see 76, Troy Fautanu, he loses his block right away. Look at everybody else. I mean, really look at everybody else. You get the combo block here from Zach Frazier and Mason McCormick. And then McCormick climbs up, and he's getting this linebacker right there. Okay? Sayamalu and Broderick Jones, both over here. They're walling off their guys. Okay? I'm going to play this full speed really quick. Watch what Pat Freiermuth does to Robert Spillane. Pat Freiermuth gets a lot of hate for he's not a great blocking tight end. Watch what he does to Robert Spillane here. Boom! He just trucks Spillane. And the thing is that you look at that in the moment and you're like, oh, wow, he blocked him into Jaylen Warren. What's he doing? Well, see, here's the thing. If Troy Fautanu is able to wall off his guy right here, again, pretend this block is in effect right here. You can see the hole that would have opened up right there. And the one guy who could have filled it was going to be blocked by Jonnu Smith. Jaylen Warren, when his run first starts, he is running at the same exact angle as Jonnu Smith. They are both running to the same gap. And all it takes is one guy, and it's not until Warren sees that this guy is absolutely free that he decides to cut inside to avoid him, because you're not going to bounce this to the outside. There's no daylight there. At that point, it's just get north and get as many yards as you possibly can, because the run is already shot. So get north, and that just so happens where Freiermuth happens to block Spillane into Warren at that point, because Warren isn't even supposed to be there. Warren is supposed to be continuing to go on this track right here behind Jonnu Smith. And if that would have been the case, if this would have been walled off right there, and you have Darnell Washington taking care of this guy, and you have Jonnu Smith going to get that guy, it's daylight for Jaylen Warren. But all it takes is one missed block. That's all it takes. This isn't blown assignments across the board. This is just losing in a bad way. And all it takes is one guy. So, again, as I'm watching this, I'm like, Troy was right. Troy's not feeding us some sort of bull crap or some sort of false optimism here that, no, they are one block. Everything else here is phenomenal. And my favorite one of all is Freiermuth just trucking Robert Spillane. Everything else is great here. And again, Jonnu didn't even get a chance to really block his guy because by that time, this guy's got eyes on the ball and he sees what's happening, so he cuts further inside to where it was going to be going. But either way, everything else here is blocked up exactly as you'd want it to be blocked up, except one guy, and that's all it takes to blow up a run. It's all it takes sometimes. All right. Here, the Steelers are running duo. And you could tell there's always a big debate on duo versus inside zone. You can usually tell by the running back's first step. When they kind of do this step out to the side and then start running straight downhill, it's duo. And what they're reading is they're reading the play side linebacker. If he crashes in, you're going to bounce this to the outside. If he plays this to the outside or plays this more like right here, tries to fill like the C gap here, the D gap there, whatever, then you're going to continue to go downhill and you're going to run behind the combo blocks. So you're getting a double here. You're getting a double here. That's hence the name duo. And that's what I'm saying. Like you're eventually like Faltanu right here is going to come. They're going to go, and then Faltanu's going to get off and get to Spillane. They're going to double this here. Samuel's going to get that, and then he's going to get up. He's going to get this linebacker here. That's why the running back reads the play side linebacker. He's going to be the one who's unblocked. Whichever way he goes, you're going to go the opposite way. Because that's what Darnell Washington is coming out here for. If this linebacker crashes down this way, then Darnell Washington's going to come meet him and block him. If this linebacker goes to the outside here, Darnell Washington is going to go and he's going to seal him off so that there can be a hole to run through for Jaylen Warren. That's duo explained. So notice Warren is looking right at that linebacker. He's looking right there. Where's the linebacker going? Okay, he's up the middle. So I'm going to bounce this to the outside. Now, at this point, what you should have is you should have this guy sealed off, which you have, this guy sealed off, which you have, and then you have a one-on-one with this defensive back out here on the outside. A lot of the time, when you talk about wide zone, when you talk about duo, when you talk about a lot of run schemes, these are usually designed to get running backs in one-on-one and one-on-ones against defensive backs in space, because defensive backs are the weakest tacklers on the field, especially cornerbacks. But they're usually the weakest tacklers on the field. Yes, they're faster than everybody else, but they're the weakest tacklers. And somebody like Jaylen Warren, who bounces off a lot of tackles, should be able to get yards out of it. Everything looks great here. Everything's being executed here. But all it takes, like I said, is one guy to lose a block. And Calvin Austin, unfortunately, loses his block way too fast, way too easily. And then Jaylen Warren has nowhere to go. And this ends up going for, I don't remember if this was a loss. Let's see, where was the ball? It was right there, this yard line right here. He ends up being tackled about right. It's about a 1 yard gain. Yeah, it's at the 13, ends up at about the 12. So it's about a 1 yard gain, maybe no gain at all. Either way, it's not a successful run. But all it takes, again, sometimes, and this is why there's the importance of having a blocking receiver is so good there. Now, what you can do, if you think about it, like maybe if you're, again, I'm not trying to think for Arthur Smith here, but if you're going to use multiple tight ends, what I think would most likely work better here is if you were to have maybe Jonnu Smith be this guy right here, and then you can have Pat Freiermuth or even Connor Hayward be this guy right here, or maybe Connor Hayward can be this guy right here. Either way, a tight end that is more of a receiving threat that can then come up and block this guy and stands a much better chance of blocking this guy. If this is Ben Skoranek here, you're pretty much telling the defense, hey, we're in 12 personnel. We've got 2 receivers on the field, but we're going to run the ball. But if you come out in 13 personnel, yes, you're like, oh yeah, we're still running the ball. But again, it's what comes with the reputation. If this is Jonnu Smith here or Pat Freiermuth, you have to respect their ability to go out for a pass. You have to. I understand Ben Skoranek has a touchdown catch this year. He actually caught the first touchdown of the season for the Steelers. But when Ben Skoranek is on the field, typically, what is he usually doing first? Blocking. That's usually what he's doing. So understand that. You don't want to continue, you don't want to tell the defense what you're doing before you even snap the ball. So I understand, like, you want to have Calvin Austin here to be like, hey, we might be throwing it here. But at the same time, you have to have capable guys making these blocks, and Calvin loses the block way too easily, and Jalen gets hit for a no gain or a 1 yard loss, or not 1 yard loss, but a no gain or a 1 yard gain. It's unfortunate. Here, let's go. Final run here. You move, you move the receiver in motion here. You get the linebackers to move in that direction. You run wide zone back against it. So again, this is why you do pre-snap motion. You get the defense moving the wrong way. You snap it. You go the other way. And again, it's one of those situations. Everything looks great. Okay, you've got inside leverage here. Okay, great. You're going to have this guy here. Maybe you can attack this. Maybe Jalen Warren should continue to go through this hole right here since Fautanu is getting up on this defensive back. But once again, you're getting, like, where do you have the leverage here on 92? Well, it's right there and it's right there, so it would make more sense to run behind this. The problem is that nobody blocks Robert Spillane. I mean, Spillane is the Mike linebacker here. Nobody blocks him. I mean, at some point, I'm guessing on this one. I'm not going to sit here and point out and say, hey, this is what should happen. I'm guessing on this one. Based off of the way this plays out, I would think Zach Frazier needs to pull off and get to Spillane here. Somebody's got to. I can't imagine that the way this is set up, the way that this is designed, is to leave the Mike linebacker unblocked. So even if it's not Frazier, somebody didn't go and block him, because you can't leave him unblocked. Warren goes to cut this back up field, as we've seen. When it's blocked up well, he can do that. The problem is Spillane's right there, and because at this point you're hoping 44 doesn't become part of the play, but because Warren isn't able to cut up and really use his speed, because Spillane's right there, he cuts back, and then 44 is able to come here and gang tackle him. So either way, you can't not block Robert Spillane on this play. You just can't. It doesn't matter who it is. It's not the fact that he's a former Steeler. It's just he's the Mike linebacker. You cannot leave that guy unblocked. You just can't. So anyway, so you're really seeing what Troy was talking about. There are a number of runs. They're one block away. They're one block away from getting successful runs. Now, maybe this is just continuing to work itself out. You're working out the kinks. September football in today's NFL is a lot like extended preseason. Yes, the games matter, but teams are still figuring themselves out, feeling each other out. Either way, this is one block away. It looks like it is actually closer to being a more successful running team than people might think. If they can get this figured out where they're not having this happen more times than not, this team will start running the ball better. So that's what I've seen. Anyway, catch you guys on the Flippity Flip. I don't know about another Chalk Talk for the rest of this week, because we're going to be in Dublin, Ireland. We're going to have a lot of content coming from there. Sitting alone in my hotel room doing film room seems like a waste of that time, but we'll see. Either way, if we don't do another Chalk Talk later this week, we'll definitely be back to do one after the Steelers have played the Vikings over at Croke Park in Dublin. So catch you guys on the Flippity Flip. We'll see you later.